What up? What up? The stars are out tonight. It is FFPC Playoff Challenge week here on Ship Chasing. We got the drinks flowing. We even pried Drew Dinkmeyer away from his NBA late swaps. We got the regulars, Pat Contrarian and Ben Gretch. How we doing, guys?
Doing good.
Dink?
Is this where we talk about kickers? Am I on the right show?
Kicker
okay,
chasing.
Yeah. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Good. I'm glad you mentioned that. As Dink said, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to
Kicker Chasing. It's the show where we chase the best kickers. The kickers that help you win championships. The biggest legs, the breaking news. It's everything you've come to love and know. The time is now for Kicker Chasing. Let's get some fucking kickers.
Oh, yeah.
You better believe if I'm going to spend time editing that video a couple times.
Leone about how he finished top 20 overall. I mean, that seems kind of okay.
Is he victory lapping after what happened with Zane Gonzalez?
and because of Jeff Wilson, who was our last pickup.
You had Rashad Penny on the team.
We did. We also had
you could have carried a second kicker.
I feel like we should also let the people in on a little behind the scenes here, where right before we went live, Leone's wife came and yelled at him for being too loud when he was arguing with Ben earlier.
And he said,
this was the best.
I was talking to Ben.
I told her the show started at 10. She goes, and why have you been yelling for the last hour? I said, I've been arguing with Ben.
That's what we promised the people. Lots of good bickering. I feel like, don't we have every Leone bickering partner here? I mean, we got Establish the Edge, Pat. We got me with Tilt Space. We got Gretch in their FFWS. And then we got Dink, the long-term bickering partner. Everyone who bickers with Leone is here tonight.
Let's
now
get
no one
Rachel
has
on the
to
screen.
I actually, speaking of Rachel not being happy, I hear Micah right now just got up. So this is
my man.
Pat, let's talk some FFPC Playoff Challenge. I mean, we were just mentioning kickers. Who's your highest projected kicker right now?
That would be the guy who led the video there, Rodrigo Blankenship chasing.
Wow.
I think he won't be like mega chalk. We've seen in some years, like I think 2 years ago, Justin Tucker just kind of got like crazy high. But I have him at 21%. I think people will gravitate to him. I think people like Cody Parkey as a way to kind of soft fade Cleveland. Matt Gay, I think, will be pretty popular.
Yeah, and let's start there too, Pat. What have been, because you did your ownership projections at the start of the week, what would be the biggest kind of movers and shakers? Who's seeing the most steam right now?
Yeah, I think the guy that's moved the most is Travis Kelce, just kind of moving from like clear chalk to the mega chalk, because he's just a really, really strong play, and he's popping pretty much everywhere as a really strong play. People are going to want to play him in the tight end premium format, and I think people that are going to that aren't thinking about it that much are going to want to play him, and then people that spend all week obsessing about it are also going to want to play him. So he's going to get a lot of ownership.
Gretch, you've been in the weeds. You've gone through all the scenarios, writing up notes. What have been some of the illuminating findings you've had as you've gone through this process this week?
That my head is spinning and there's way too many options. No, I mean, I think Kelce's I think lineup should start at tight end. Kelce is a really interesting point. If you're playing Kelce, then you've started there. But if you're not, you're either playing Andrews, and I said on the Wednesday show, I think Mahomes Andrews is one of the worst ways you can start, because so many of the Mahomes lineups will probably have Andrews. And then you have to make a decision beyond them. And there's, who knows? There's the Logan Thomases, the Austin Hoopers, the Eric Ebrons. These guys, maybe we'll get 2 games out of them. Will they even give us a touchdown in those 2 games? Or, what are we even going to get out of that? So I think tight end is like a really key decision point. It's driven by, Green Bay being so heavy with Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams, and New Orleans being so heavy with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. And Those tight ends I don't think are really in play, Tanya and Cook. So it's a challenge to piece it all together. But yeah, figuring out tight end, what you want to do, whether you want to eat Kelsey or not, is going to kind of start your build.
Drew, a year ago, we did this stream this same Friday night. It was the four of us. Gretch wasn't here. It was a production air riddled stream broadcasted on OBS via mic, I think, to our periscopes. We also famously bombed. Basically, every take we had went the other direction. What are the lessons we've learned from that stream that we are not going to make again this year?
Well, I've done much less preparation this year. So that was my first approach was, last year I spent a lot of time really digging through all this stuff and came up with the ideas to fade, Dalvin, fade Derrick Henry. And this year I've just done nothing. So that's really the approach that I've had on this. And we're just gonna let the takes fly and see where they go.
Leone, you've been, I mean, I throw the term around in the weeds. I mean, you have gone full nerd on this contest. I didn't think anyone could usurp Pat here on king of the FFPC playoff challenge.
Wait, I've lost my crown?
Don't, Gretch, do you think Leone took the crown from him?
It's close. I think they're battling it out.
Oh man.
Yeah. Leone, what are we working with here now on Friday? We're about 12 hours, 14 hours from lock, 15 hours.
Yeah, so Drew did less work than last year. I did more work than last year.
Two different approaches.
But for such a seemingly simple contest, it's a lot more complex than you'd think. And like weird scenarios can play out and they're actually not that weird. Talking about Kelsey, Gretch mentioned how Green Bay, New Orleans are so concentrated with Adams, Jones, and then Kamara, Michael Thomas, that almost no matter what happens with them, you're playing one of those skill players. So if you end up with an NFC championship game that's chalk Green Bay, New Orleans, like things can get really weird in the Super Bowl. Even if it's KC, it might not be Kelsey because all of a sudden the gap between Mahomes and the next quarterback ends up being super wide because it's not going to be Rodgers. It's not going to be Breeze because you're using a skill player. And then all of a sudden it could be this huge gap. And then you'd think like Kelsey would be a lock in the Super Bowl and he's not. And we saw it last year too. Kelsey actually made it to the Super Bowl and wasn't in the optimal or the winning lineup.
Pat, this is actually something we were talking about before the show of, we were the Boomer Opto we revealed on Wednesday. Hassan's proprietary Boomer Opto had Kelsey and Andrews in it, is going soft on the tight ends, turning our back on Crack Rock and cranking it purple. Is that the way to go?
It's definitely going to be an under-owned way to go. And if Baltimore loses in the first round and you get anything out of a tight end that's not Kelsey, and you're not obviously like hurting if KC makes a run, to Mike's point, if you have Mahomes, you might be in a better position than the Kelsey owners if they make a run. So yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting route to just find, another tight end who can get you some points. You're basically betting on a Baltimore round one loss.
Yeah. Gretch, who are some of your favorite plays? Give it up. I mean, can we play AJ Brown? You love that guy. You want to post the sunglass photo, the sunglass emoji? I mean, can we do it?
I like him as a leverage play. Henry is a tough one to get away from. We talked earlier in the week about the extra flexes making it tough for like some of these really good offenses and particularly some of the really good plays to not get in. There's not a lot of scripts where Henry's not going to get used a ton. So you're basically saying, can AJ Brown outscore Derrick Henry? Yeah, he certainly can. So you can play him, but you're playing Tennessee to lose, and you're not expecting them to make a multi-game run because at that point it's probably going to be Henry more often than not. It's funny, AJ Brown and Jonathan Taylor, two of my favorite guys, are two guys that I think are tough plays to make. Taylor for a different reason, I guess, but it's going to be probably too chalky for a guy who could lose in the first round and not have the right script. But I think Russ in the whole tournament is my favorite play. And maybe it's a little homer. I mean, I got my Husky helmet in the background. I'm not even that big of a Seahawks fan, a group of Vikings fan. I think it's a really interesting point, and Pat's been making it all week as well. The Seattle Rams game is probably going to get under-owned. It looks like a low-scoring game in round one, but you can play it to win multiple games, 2 games, 3 games. Leone just made a great point about where, like, if Kelsey's the guy, and say it's a KC Green Bay chalk Super Bowl, it might not be Rodgers. It could be Wilson in a conference championship game scenario.
Yeah.
So Wilson, I think, is an interesting one. 3 games or potentially even a 4-game run. I like playing the 4-game quarterbacks from the NFC more than the AFC. There are fun options in the AFC, but I kind of like the NFC ones better at projected ownership.
Dink, one thing that I feel like happens is at the beginning of the week, you're thinking macro about these builds, how the whole playoffs are going to shake out. Then you start getting into the weeds with your DFS research, and some of these maybe contrarian underdog plays, bubble up to the surface more than they did at the beginning of the week. Having looked at the slate for this weekend, are there any of these underdog plays that might be able to find their way into our FFPC challenge rosters?
It's a good question. I mean, you guys have more experience on kind of building the lineups for this type of tournament than I do. But do you think somebody like Nyheim Hines, you talk about this Jonathan Taylor situation where he could get it kind of scripted out? Is that enough to be a differentiator? If Nyheim Hines outscores Jonathan Taylor in round 1 and they're bounced, is that enough to be a differentiator to make a big deal? Like, how much would you have to outscore them by to really give you an advantage on the field? But I think the contrarian plays that you'd be looking at in DFS, I assume, would be from teams that you don't think can really go far, because it's hard for a contrarian play on a team to hit like multiple weeks in a row for them to be, kind of the winning format in this type of tournament.
Leone, who's been popping up on those underdog teams? Let's say, the Colts, the Bears, Washington. Have those guys been popping up for you as interesting plays at all?
Yeah, some of the Bears guys, I think the NFC, you can definitely get weird. Again, a lot of this ties into Green Bay, New Orleans. Like, they play 1 game or they play 3 games, you're using the same guys on Green Bay, New Orleans. So if you take a Bear like Montgomery or Robinson, they're pretty concentrated. You're almost free rolling them winning, where they can be, if they lose, they could still be in the optimal lineup if they have a good game. If they win, you're free rolling because you didn't lose anything on the New Orleans side because you were playing Kamara or Michael Thomas anyways, and now you've got a Bear playing 2 games that not a lot of the field has. And I think too, if you do want to, soft fade tight end, play less 2 tight end lineups, or get off Andrews and Kelsey, Logan Thomas is pretty good for Washington, where I think he's an okay play even if they're one and done. But again, you kind of free roll that they win, where it's not going to change a ton on the Tampa Bay side. You're probably going to have a Tampa Bay skill player, a pass catcher regardless.
Yeah. Pat, any other kind of big things that have shifted from you, maybe opinions you had at the beginning of the week that you're now kind of rethinking, or angles you really want to attack?
Well, I think Derrick Henry will be more owned than I thought at the beginning of the week. Again, another guy who I had him plenty owned, but I bumped him up to being pretty much mega chalk, just because he's again a very strong play. And is somewhat similar to like the Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas play, where you're probably okay even if they lose, just because he can have such a big game. So I think people are just going to play him. And the point that Drew was making about Jonathan Taylor and trying to get off of him to Nyheim Hines, that's an interesting one. But I think a lot of the field will be soft fading Indianapolis through Blankenship or just hard fading them. And so you're sacrificing one of your flex spots on Hines there, and someone else is getting to play, from another team. With the Titans, guys like Corey Davis, I think, are interesting because there's not going to be as many people fading the Titans as their Super Bowl odds would lead you to think. If the Titans are probably like less live to just bury you with this Super Bowl run than the field owning a Titan would suggest.
Sorry, guys, I'm completely shook. I bought a Modelo Torpedo specifically for this show, and it's in my fridge right now. How have I not gone that? You carry on amongst yourselves.
So, if the question Peter asked Pat about opinions changing at the beginning of the week, when Pat and I were talking at the beginning of the week, I was telling him I thought Mahomes was a terrible play. And the process behind that was, if they go deep, how is it not going to be Kelsey and Tyreek Hill separating at their positions? But as I looked at it more, like, I was an idiot. Mahomes, one, the quarterback ownership looks like it's going to be spread out, so Mahomes isn't going to get crazy owned. And two, the scenario I talked about where Chiefs make the Super Bowl, and because of the NFC situation, Mahomes can still outscore people a lot. So I like Mahomes a lot more than I did at the very beginning of the week.
And we talked about last year's final roster, the winning tight end. There was a single tight end lineup that had Mark Andrews, who scored 9.9 points. And Kelsey scored 4 touchdowns and had like 300 receiving yards in the playoffs. He must have had, I don't have the exact numbers, but a 50-point gap or 60-point gap at least over Andrews. But Mahomes was in the optimal for the reasons that Leone just laid out. And you have to think through that. It feels crazy to fade Kelsey with the rest of these tight ends. It might not be right to play him because of how this is structured. You can only play one chief. If Mahomes is more the right quarterback than Kelsey is the right tight end, then you play Mahomes.
Yeah, and Daniel Fells was actually in the optimal. Andrews won, and Daniel Fells was the optimal last year. So, shit happens, I mean, so.
Not even Daniel Fells, Darren Fells, but whatever. We're just making up Fells.
Darren Fells. Whatever, Fells.
I'm trying to figure out who is this year's D Fells. I mean, it could be. It feels like it would be, I don't know, a Colts tight end, maybe like a Trey Burton.
Mo Alley Cox.
Mo Alley Cox. Yeah.
There you go.
Let's see here. So Eric is asking, how many teams did you guys enter? I mean, Pat, we're up to probably like 10 teams. Us two.
What? No way, dude. We have way more than that.
Oh, well, he's saying in the 200.
No.
And then I've got about, I think Dink and I have about 10 to 15 right now.
Okay.
Did it fill?
So the $35 filled. Because I was just going, because I was thinking later in the show we could build a $35 one, and then I noticed it was all filled up.
We have like 20 teams, Pete.
Okay. Pat has been on a registering spree. Seattle tight end. Don't get me and Leone started on Jacob Hollister versus Will Dissly. All right, Dink. So you're coming in blind. I want some Dink hot takes. You've been in the NBA streets. You haven't been. I mean, I want some fire take. I need a flag plant take on this show.
So the first thing that, as you guys have been talking, you've been talking about like NFC quarterbacks and the potential game advantage that everybody could stack up. Like, how owned is Brady going to be? Because from a DFS perspective, we talk about Brady each and every week and it being like difficult to find who you're going to pair him with, but he can still put up numbers week in and week out. And that seems like the perfect situation.
And Pat does have him as the chalkiest QB, I think.
Okay.
I am at 28% is the top QB, partly because with Evans, like probably playing, but no one's going to play Evans, but then Evans going to get healthier throughout the playoffs if they make a run. So I just think it'll push people onto Brady and a little bit off of guys like Antonio Brown. I have Josh Allen pretty close.
You'd think so. I mean, yeah, I would assume. I would have thought Allen maybe higher, but that makes sense because Brady. Like that path through the NFC is the one that you want to take shots on. I think trying to compete through Kansas City is just a really tough spot, and especially with a high scoring position like quarterback. You want to have your highest scoring position like kicker and quarterback from the NFC, where you have more potential chances to get all the way through. And then on the AFC side, you just you take your Chiefs and figure out who can get to the AFC Conference Championship.
Wow,
and work from there.
Drew, you taking this shade here from me?
It is. I mean, clearly, if I'm going Brady right off the stop,
started with Brady. That hates it.
Well, see, I do think we were talking about this earlier too with Tampa, and I do think it's similar to DFS, right? Where people don't feel comfortable identifying the pass catcher. And so I think they're going to want to play it through Brady or through Rojo. And so, the more I think about it, and now you have questions about Evans. So I don't know. I think Godwin, I think Antonio Brown is interesting. Maybe Godwin is the most interesting one because the Boomers love AB. Evans, we don't know how effective he's going to be in week 1. But I do think taking a stand on one of those pass catchers might be the way to play Tampa if you're looking for leverage.
I think my take there is Rojo. Just, to get Pat a little more excited into the show.
But who cares if I have my crown? If you guys don't.
Put your pants back on, Pat.
I have Rojo at 87% ownership, and I think we should be overweight.
But it is the Mostert kind of situation from last year where San Francisco got to the Super Bowl, not necessarily totally through Mostert, but he was in the optimal because they got through it on the ground. Tampa Bay's passing game has been so effective lately, and you can see why people are gonna trend towards Brady. But if they make a run, it's not that hard to see scenarios where it is through riding Rojo. They late in the season pretty much told us when Rojo was out that they're not that in love with Leonard Fournette. Obviously, they never really rode him the same way. So Arians has been talking about 20+ Rojo touches, this, that, and the other thing. He came back for week 17. He played a decent amount. You can see back-to-back-to-back 20+ carry games. This boomer. He won't be in the boomer optimal somehow, but he's the boomer play. Really.
I guess my concern with Rojo, and of course Bruce Arians is going to say that because Bruce Arians envisions them winning, 40-5 every game, and he can just run Ronald Jones. But the reality is, if they say we get a Rojo game and then they go on the road to Green Bay, I mean, what are the odds that we're going to get a favorable game script at Lambeau with Ronald Jones getting 20+ carries?
Well, Green Bay's run defense stinks. Yeah. So,
okay.
But
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it seems hard for Rojo to string together multiple.
You're betting on a Tampa Bay run when you pick Rojo. Yeah. You are betting on a Tampa Bay run.
If Tampa Bay makes a run, I think Rojo is a good play.
I do too. I have him at 25% now, which is up 11% from where I started. So he might not be in the boomer optimal, but he'll be more owned than you would typically think.
Everyone who
the same factors as Brady.
Yeah, I think a lot of people Tampa Bay's a popular team to make a run. And so my point is sort of a lot of people are seeing that and saying Brady makes a lot of sense. And like Drew, who hasn't done a whole lot of research, he's already popping in like that's first thought. That's everyone's first thought. It was our first thought early in the week. And then you can play Kelsey instead of Mahomes and all those things. But it could be more of a running heavy run from the Bucs. It wouldn't be that shocking.
The other situation that I think is similar where we're looking for the spots where are people going to feel most comfortable. I think Seattle is another one of these interesting ones where you got the wide receiver cornerback matchup guys afraid of Ramsey for Metcalf. And then Lockett has been kind of a guy that's burned a lot of people at points this year, even though he's coming on. Do we think people gravitate to Russ or to Carson there? I guess, Pat, how do you currently have that ownership on the Seahawks Big Four?
I have Metcalf and Carson kind of in a tier, and then Lockett lower down in the high teens at like 18%. So I think I have Metcalf at 29%, Carson at 27%, Lockett at 18%.
Leone, do you have, when you hear those ownership percentages just in a vacuum, do you have a Seattle guy you like the most if you say they win 2 to 3 games?
I think I like Carson the least, and then Metcalf and Lockett are both appealing to me. Where in a vacuum, I like Metcalf more than Lockett, but at an ownership discount, I think they're pretty even. They're kind of a toss up. So I like those two guys. And there are scenarios too where Russ gets the NFC Championship game and is in the optimal, even if he doesn't make it to the Super Bowl. That's super in play because you've got Diggs for Buffalo, Kelsey for Kansas City, and you've got the New Orleans Green Bay situation. So. And it's basically the same reasons why Drew identified Tom Brady, except it's going to be Russell Wilson at Pat. What's the ownership we have on Russ? 5% versus Brady's 28%, and it's kind of like the exact same play.
Yeah, feels like Russ is going to go higher than that, right?
Maybe I guess if Metcalf
5%, he just feels like such a smash.
Yeah, maybe I've got Metcalf a little too high, and then some of that goes to Russ, but.
I would think, when you reeled those off to me, the one that seemed too high was Lockett. Like the gap between Metcalf and Lockett feels like it would be larger than 28 and 17. It just feels like the industry has all decided that Metcalf is just such a superior option to Lockett.
I tweeted their fantasy points per game for the season, and people did not like it. I did it with no commentary whatsoever. I did it. and people were like not happy. They were like, oh, well, if you throw out Lockett's big game, and I was like, I didn't give an opinion, buddy.
I feel like Lockett would be like sub 10%.
Interesting.
Who do you like most out of that Seattle situation, Drew?
Well, I mean, if Russ is 5, it would be Russ. But of the skill guys, my boomer instinct would be Metcalf if they're 28-17. But I just can't imagine that they're that close.
Well, that's
like,
why
it doesn't feel like people view them that close.
Seattle's such a tough one for the boomer mindset because the boomers are afraid of Jalen Ramsey. Like you don't want to take a 5-point
and recency bias. Because Pete, you were on the other side of this. I had originally, I'll pull up what I had originally. Originally, I had it at 43 Metcalf and 18 Lockett. So Lockett stayed the same, but Metcalf's I've come way down on because you're telling me about these Ramsey narratives are going to be getting his ownership down. And I do tend to agree. I think people are going to be a little bit afraid to play him.
People are worried about Jalen Ramsey.
Well, I feel like Metcalf is super tricky, right? Because if you say Ramsey holds him in check, but then you're playing for Seattle still to win multiple games, I feel like over 2 to 3 game span, Russ starts to separate from the skill position. So where is the sweet spot where Metcalf is in the optimal? That's hard for me.
Look, if Lockett's going to be a third Metcalf, I know he's a lot lower in the PSM model, but Lockett is, we've seen 3 or 4 absurd ceiling games from him. And I know the floor has sucked for 4 weeks in a row at times, but if he gets one of those absurd ceiling games, he's going to be the optimal. And it could happen, especially if you're talking the Ramsey stuff week 1.
I would have guessed that Russ and Lockett would be somewhat similar ownership, and Metcalf and Carson would be somewhat similar. Yeah, and there'd be a gap, a big gap between those two groups. That would have been my guess.
So Gretch, one of the, I think, big decision points for most people in lineups is Michael Thomas versus Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones versus Devontae Adams. I don't think too many people are going to stray off the beaten path there. How are you thinking about those kind of two situations?
Well, we were just talking before the show. Pat, that's one where ownership, you've changed a little bit, right? Pat, you've brought Kamara down. And early in the week when we did ownership, he was your highest projected guy, but you have them a little closer now.
That's right, yeah. And I just think because Thomas is popping, is such a clear pivot, and it's not a pivot where it feels really uncomfortable. Like Aaron Jones from Devontae Adams genuinely feels uncomfortable. Thomas doesn't feel that uncomfortable. Yeah. And Leone, you were pointing out that DFS kind of screwed this up.
They screwed it
because
up
everyone's going to be playing him and everyone's getting comfortable with him on DraftKings. So they're probably just going to come over to the FFPC and play him there too. So especially because I like Michael Thomas a bunch as well, I don't want to be the field is going to play no Michael Thomas. Let's play all the Michael Thomas and then create this leverage play that maybe doesn't exist. So I'm trying to be a little bit conservative with it.
That's why I was asking you that. I'm starting to trend back towards if Kamara is only going to be, 45, 50%, and Thomas is going to be 30%.
He's going to be more than that still.
I have it at 65-26, but I started
65.
Yeah, I started at 72-24.
Okay, I thought you had it at 55 for some reason, or 50 or something. Okay. Yeah, no, I still like Thomas at those numbers, I think. But it feels like Thomas can outscore Kamara pretty easily. I don't love a Saints Super Bowl run, so then you have a negative script at some point. That helps them both. Obviously, Kamara catches a lot of passes, but I think it's a little bit more beneficial to Thomas outscoring Kamara. Let's put it that way. It's fewer touchdowns, which are there's more touchdown equity for Kamara. It's anytime they lose, it's just more based on the receptions, and then it could go Thomas's way. The Adams one is tough. I totally get the Jones play. But Adams, and I said this earlier in the week, Adams and Diggs are two players that, with the extra flexes this year, the deeper lineup, to me, both of them, it doesn't seem like it matters. Diggs is a little different because if the Bills make the Super Bowl, it's probably Allen. But shorter runs or a little bit longer runs, 2 or 3 games, Diggs and Allen both, or Adams both feel similar where they're going to fit. Even if they play one game, they're going to fit into one of these flex spots. They're not going to be left out. So
one question I have for you guys on the running backs, and I've been having difficulty with this in DFS too. Come playoff time, are teams like Green Bay going to, concentrate on Aaron Jones more? Are they going to concentrate on James Conner more for Pittsburgh, Chris Carson more for Seattle? Because that changes the math a little bit. If you kind of assume the same splits in the regular season versus like Aaron Jones in a workhorse role, all of a sudden that's like getting more to like 60-40 if he outscores Devontae Adams, whereas
but so much of
similar role at 75-25.
I do want this is a good Gretch Leone spat because the chat is interested. So much we argue about your projections a lot, and you like the running backs almost always. There are certain receivers who get handoffs,
especially if they're old.
There are certain receivers who get handoffs. Devontae Adams gets handoffs that count as receptions, which are essentially anytime they play 10 to 12 yards off him, cushion, Rodgers just snaps it and throws it to him. And it's not a play that's in the playbook. It's something I've asked for, or thought I would like to see more out of from other teams with really good yak receivers like the DJ Moores of the world. He never gets anything like that. But Adams gets so many catches that are they're just like they're playing catch in the backyard, and then Adams is doing stuff after the catch. Even if they want to run more and Aaron Jones is getting a lot more touches, Adams' targets and his receptions are more secure than any other receivers because of that.
Adams is an absolute stud. I don't know. I don't have this running back bias. I think I have. I love, but if you Aaron Jones has pretty absurd fantasy season with getting a
were you saying 60-40 Adams is ahead?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were
my God. Oh my God.
Isn't this like your argument earlier? You guys thought you were arguing, but you really weren't?
I don't want to blame game, but I feel like at this point this is more on Gretch than me. I don't know what I did there.
Of course you do.
Oh my God.
You said something positive about Jones, and then you're like, at that point it's 60-40, and I was thinking 50-50.
75-25. Yeah. But the point is, do you guys think some of these teams are going to concentrate on these running backs or not? Because if Connor is split with Snell, it's easy Connor fade and play Pittsburgh pass catcher. Chalk Deontay or play Claypool or Juju, right? And then similar with Carson, we're saying Carson is going to be this boomer chalk, but he actually would be decent chalk if it was full workhorse Carson, because these guys catch passes. In the Aaron Jones thing, when they've used him in the games, they've used him a lot and phased out the other running back, he's getting 15% of the targets, and he's getting legitimately really good targets. So it does change the dynamic a bit if you think they're going to concentrate on a single running back for the playoff run. And I don't know if they will. And
it also, I think the reason MT Kamara feels so close is because you could say over, even if they make a Super Bowl run, there's plenty of scenarios where MT outscores Kamara during that run. Whereas if you tell me the Packers go to the Super Bowl, it's really hard for me to envision Aaron Jones outscoring him over a 3-game span.
He'd probably need a 3-touchdown game. He'd probably need, something like what Mostert did in the NFC Championship last year. And it can happen. But yeah, Leone, I apologize. I just misheard you. I thought you were saying Jones was more likely than Adams.
The Super Bowl too does add some variance because it's 2x, right? So
true.
You, in a way, if you run pure in the correct game, you don't need to straight up outscore the other player, right?
Yeah. Jones does strike me as a decent chance of what you're talking about, Mike, with that dynamic where they're not going to have Aaron Jones probably next year. They're making this playoff run. Why not just kind of spend him? And he's an awesome player, because it's tougher for me to see with James Conner, because James Conner isn't really adding a ton. So I think that could happen. And then you also have the Aaron Rodgers MVP narrative stuff where maybe they don't throw every single time, at the 2-yard line anymore.
This is my wheelhouse. This I can chime in on.
Here we go, Drew. Let's go.
So first, Pat, I wanted to ask, what is the ownership difference you have between, so you said Thomas and Kamara is closer to 70-25 or 65-25, something like that. What's the gap between Adams and Jones that you have? Is it similarly wide or wider?
It's wider. Let me pull it up because Adams, I think, is just going to be, I have it at 66-24. So pretty similar, actually.
So it sounds really similar.
Yeah.
So that I think that's interesting because I would feel as a boomer, I would feel much more closely aligned with Adams and Kamara if I had to choose between those two options. So I would think Adams would get higher, and Adams might push like 75, 80. But yeah, the Rodgers stuff, like throughout the course of the season, I mean, the number of 1-yard touchdown passes that the guy threw, like that stuff's, I don't think that stuff's going to happen at the same rate because a lot of that stuff was like first down play calling. And like most teams on first down aren't doing that stuff. They're going to take the first like easy shot that they have, which is trying to run the ball and not risk the pick play getting called basically for an offensive PI and, backing up 10 yards. So I don't know. I think Jones is a really, really strong play.
Yeah. The other thing that a little bit worries me about Jones is we saw them in that game at home against the Titans just be completely willing to give A.J. Dillon 20 carries in a positive script. Like, I think those light switches can get flipped if they're just in, we're going to pound the rock mode. So I think there are lots of ways that Aaron Jones can get squeezed, even if the Packers are rolling.
There are, but don't you think that's, I don't know, don't you think that, like, if Pat's ownership is right, I agree, and I think you play Adams in that spot, but I feel like it could be a situation where Jones gets down to, like, 12, 15, because, like, I think Adams could just, the season that Adams just put up, and the expectation that people have on Green Bay in general, and then I think if you add in the 2 times multiplier in the Super Bowl, when you think, like, when's the game script most vulnerable for Green Bay, you would think it would be in the Super Bowl where, so I don't know. It feels like Adams would be one of the chalkiest plays on the slate by a wide margin.
And that's also the time that they're most likely to let Aaron Rodgers throw at the 2-yard line again because Rodgers might want Super Bowl MVP.
Like, if you give Jones, 70% of his team's carries and like a 15 to 17% target share, the dude is like absurd, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but like, it's an insane projection if you get it there, which you wouldn't assume, but I think it's possible.
Well, let's
Drew,
do that.
I think what you're saying is right because last year Michael Thomas came in at 64% and Alvin Kamara came in at 21%. I think the field is going to feel a lot worse about playing Aaron Jones than they did about playing Alvin Kamara last year.
Well, one thing I will say that I think heavily factors into this, and I know that we generally do a good job of fighting this back, but I mean, recency bias is a real thing. Michael Thomas was coming off of this historic season last year. Devontae Adams has a great season. He let people down in week 17. I mean, he had a moderate, 45 for a touchdown, but he's not coming off of this monster game where I don't think the boomers are just auto jamming him necessarily in the way he was.
Are the boomers playing week 17 NFL DFS?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing, man.
How would we
That's
own
a
it?
good point.
Listen,
Week 17
guys, we're not playing DFS, but our season-long championship is week 17.
All right. You know what? Some of us got burned jamming Devontae Adams in our cash game lineups in week 17. I'm sorry. Here's another topic. I think, people like looking at those, optimal lineups from last year. We like trying to find archetypes for this year. Pat, there was a note in a spreadsheet somewhere, a Google Doc, about a guy who could potentially be this year's DK Metcalf, a rookie who could come out of nowhere. We have not talked about the Steelers much other than James Conner. How we feeling about Chase Claypool?
Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff about Leone playing old guys is a bit, but when he tries to jam in an old guy like Juju Smith-Schuster over the young emerging Chase Claypool, it really bothers me. My favorite narrative so far this week has been when Levitan said that they might have been saving Claypool, preventing him from hitting the rookie wall, and now they're going to unleash him in the playoffs. I mean, come on, that's exciting to hear.
I mean, they put the chastity belt on him all year long, and now the chastity belt is off.
Right.
And it's time for team sex.
It's all Claypool season. Leone is obnoxious with these Juju takes. God, this guy's like 40.
One thing, I'll take most of the beating on that, but I want to push back on one thing, which is in a contest like this, where you have to have kind of the optimal player from each team, the points that they're the optimal buy doesn't matter as much as like you do in a DFS tournament. So if Pittsburgh gets bounced and Juju is the highest scoring receiver, it doesn't matter that he has like a lower ceiling than Chase Claypool, like we care about in DFS. It just matters that he's the highest scoring Pittsburgh receiver.
So your argument is basically Juju's not going to score a lot of points and it's okay.
How many weeks this season has Juju outscored Claypool?
Like 2.
It feels like none.
No, not Claypool. Not just Claypool, but he's been the highest scoring Pittsburgh receiver fewer times than you'd expect. We talked about that on Wednesday. I was looking through the game logs, and that was kind of what I was gonna ask you, Leone. If Arizona was in the playoffs, would you play Larry Fitzgerald over their other receivers? I mean, why do you want to play a glorified tight end?
Oh my God.
My favorite thing is Leone's so mad, but he can't yell right now. He's like trying to like spit off hot takes while whispering. I just think Juju is been the better guy this year.
I think you guys have the odds of Juju being the top scoring Pittsburgh receiver, like just completely wrong. And again, Gretch, what did I suggest? I said, can we please play one Juju lineup? Like, I mean, and you said yes, of course.
Yeah.
What you said.
Yeah, we said yes, of course, but that's not entertaining, Leone. We wanted to
Gretch said if we make 1,000 lineups, we can play one Juju.
We can get one in there.
I know you guys are all excited about Claypool, but I thought the lead there. I thought we were talking Michael Pittman. I thought we were talking, wide receiver out of nowhere.
Ooh.
Look at Leone or Dink coming on the show and floating Nyheim Hines and Michael Pittman for
That's what we're talking about. I mean, the whole idea of my purpose on this show is to just keep pitching Colts and then eventually get into a Colts Super Bowl run and then just furiously tilt Leone into waking up Rachel.
Okay. All right. If you're playing a Colt though, like Hilton's unowned, right? Like just play T.Y.
He's
Hilton.
going to be super unowned.
I mean, I think I actually like the Hines call too. I think that's pretty interesting. But Pittman, stick to the DFS streets.
I mean, all these guys, all you guys are like zero running back truthers, and then I bring up Nyheim Hines, and you're like, whoa, we got to spend at running back in the FFPC playoffs.
Well, I thought the Hines was going to be welcomed with open arms.
Hines
trying
feels
to
like
cater my takes to my audience here.
Yeah.
Hines feels like a Colts lost play, and I guess you'd want to, if you're taking a Colt, I think you at least want to have them have a chance to outscore Jonathan Taylor in a 2-game stretch.
Oh, why have we not?
I don't see why Hines wouldn't have that though. Honestly, I don't like.
I'm kind of with Dink. Hines feels like the Corey Davis play, right? Where you could you're playing for a first negative game script, but even if they win a close one, you could get a second negative game script against the Chiefs or whatever.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like I don't see why. I mean, there's been plenty of times during the year that Hines has outscored Taylor in a 2-game stretch. I understand, like we feel like Taylor has like usurped the entire backfield workload, but he's also done that against like terrible teams down the stretch where they were huge favorites. Like week in and week out, they had this is like the David Montgomery syndrome, where like David Montgomery had like every perfect matchup in a row, and all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, David Montgomery's good. And it's the same thing with Jonathan Taylor. He had every perfect matchup in a row, and the Colts were playing from ahead consistently. And that's not.
Don't compare David Montgomery to Jonathan Taylor. Just because you're a Bears fan doesn't mean you can start saying David Montgomery's on Jonathan Taylor.
Listen, buddy. I have nothing but hate for David Montgomery. So this has nothing to do with him being on Jonathan Taylor's level. It has simply to do with the similarity in the plays in terms of the level of confidence that everybody has taken on these players due to a favorable schedule stretch that you would expect them to do well in anyway when their teams are playing from ahead. And like we end up double counting that because we're like, oh yeah, it's a good matchup. We expect him to do well. Then he does well, and we're like, oh, he's the guy in the backfield.
Yeah.
It's like, what? No, you expected this to be the case.
100%. And on that note too, oh God, I mean, just get made fun of again. Fuck. Jonathan Taylor is going to be twice as owned as David Montgomery in this thing.
Yeah,
so
he's not a good player in this. That's
David Montgomery is actually kind of live in this thing.
No. I wasn't saying
I know
play
that-
David Montgomery.
I agree with that.
Be very clear. Let's be very clear.
Thank you,
No one
Pat.
played David Montgomery
Let's go to
ever.
cut to Pat.
No, I agree. I think you with David Montgomery, you're getting a discount version of Jonathan Taylor. You're getting a discount version of Nick Chubb. You're getting a discount version of Cam Akers. I think he'll be lower than all those guys.
And he plays on passing downs. Jonathan Taylor.
We've talked about how Chicago, everyone's going to want to fade Chicago. They're going to be one of the least owned teams in the tournament. So you get a chance because of that free roll dynamic that we were talking about. Just play a bear.
Chicago's the fucking free roll.
I will agree that David Montgomery, and shoot me in the head for saying this, is a better play in this than Jonathan Taylor. Especially when you consider ownership. It's kind of ridiculous. They're both expected to be in negative scripts. Montgomery plays on passing downs. Jonathan Taylor, as we just talked about, can get outscored by another running back on his own team. I mean,
Dink, we can't trust you. You're on the record as wanting the Bears to lose, so this GM front office doesn't stick around. So I don't know if we could trust you on this.
That's fair. It's fair. Now, what do you guys think about Ryan Null? You guys think
That's more of a 2 a.m. tout, Dink.
We should talk Bills a little bit because they're like the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl.
that one-and-done team. In the
I
first
don't
round?
know if you saw, but they danced to "Can't Touch This" in practice. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they did.
I heard you talk about it 8 times.
Pat, you were telling a scary story earlier. What was that?
Don't you dare.
Well, I do think that Tyler Bass is a pretty good play if you want to talk about Bills play. Because since they're going to lose, you can just kind of soft fade them like that. You don't want to mess around. You want to make a hard take, make a strong take. Just go ahead and play Tyler Bass.
One, stop censoring Hassan in chat because he's making some great juju points. And two, if the Bills go to the Super Bowl, or even the AFC Championship game, Allen is pretty interesting to be overweight on. I agree with Gretch is super into Diggs, and I agree with that. He's good chalk, but I think Allen is going to be under-owned. But if you do play the Bills to go one and done, hey, if you play them to go one and done, I've got a Tyler Bass lineup. Okay, I've got one in there.
I just want to say the reason we had to censor Hassan is because he alienated our entire Australian audience on the Wednesday show. So, we had to put him in a bit of a timeout. I am going to pull up. I just took a screenshot of what Pat said in our chat earlier today. Lights out, flashlights to the chin, the story of the young 2 seed that died at home. I hope Leone missed that one. I can't even imagine.
I was trying to eat dinner with my family, and I have technology addiction, and I scrolled up and read every last comment in the chat.
I'd like to also point out that the timing of that 5:20 p.m. is when Michael was having his early bird special dinner.
I had to scroll back, Dink, but I eat dinner early quite often. I'm fine with it. Okay?
I couldn't help but check out Brandon Thorne's O-line, D-line column this week on ETR. I noticed that not only do the Colts have a defensive line mismatch, they also have an offensive line mismatch. I'm getting cold feet, Leone.
Ooh. Listen, Josh Allen's going to throw the ball 40 times. I've said since day one, this is the best quarterback prospect we've seen in a long time. We're just kind of... No, but I think the Bills are legit very, very good, and I think they have a legitimate head coaching edge. Sorry, Frank Reich.
Let's talk about, because I think a lot of people build their lineups with they want their quarterback in the Super Bowl. I think is generally the hand build type thought. Who are the skill position players that could end up in the optimal lineup if their team makes it to the Super Bowl?
Kelsey, well, both the NFC teams, we've already talked about them. The Saints and the Kelsey, Diggs, Andrews, Derrick Henry.
So you think Andrews outscores Lamar in a 4-game run?
I thought you said could. I mean,
it's not.
Yeah, no, you're right though. Because when I was looking at stuff, I actually favored Andrews in non-Baltimore.
This scenario is lights out, flashlight to the chin. Who do you take?
If Baltimore goes to the Super Bowl, I think what you get from Andrews, and this is part of the reason why I'm kind of skeptical of Andrews, is you get at least one bad game at some point. That's what we've seen from him sort of all year. And Lamar, every game, you're getting the consistent rushing. They're winning. He's putting up touchdowns. He's probably going to be a bigger edge at quarterback than Andrews is at tight end.
Yeah, that's correct. I agree with that.
It doesn't mean it can't happen. You're right. It could happen, Andrews, for sure.
I think Andrews is a better play.
I was just going to say there's a chance Tyreek is also in the optimal if he has a huge blow-up game in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl, yeah.
Right. Because if he has one of his 200-yard 2 TD in the Super Bowl, it just shatters the entire.
Yeah.
You have to have him.
When did that happen?
What did he have
in the
against the
Super Bowl?
Bucs?
But he's had huge games.
What did he have against the Bucs?
He had like 50 points against the Bucs.
Yeah, Mike, look up his stats. You're acting like I just said something just insane.
I was just trying to give Dink some shit about Marquise Brown, guys.
I'll say Rojo on this question also. Wow. I think Rojo, if the Bucs make a run to the Super Bowl, Rojo could be in the optimal against an AFC quarterback, against a Lamar or Josh Allen or a Mahomes if he absolutely smashes.
Marquise
Brown
had
some great takes tonight.
What Marquise Brown has gone over 100 yards.
I was talking about Tyreek Hill, Mike.
What
is happening?
Yeah. I screwed that up.
No one brought up Marquise Brown.
Literally, no one talked about Marquise Brown.
Okay.
Why are you at the dollar store, Tyreek Hill?
Listen, it's down. We've finished. Okay.
Well, so is Marquise Brown.
I apologize, but Drew tells me Marquise Brown is Tyreek Hill, and I did get it.
I told you all we need is we just need the screw back in the foot, and we're back. They took the screw out of the foot, and everything went haywire for Marquise Brown. They put the screw back in the foot this offseason, and we're back.
Wait, I was looking at some Tampa Bay scenarios where they go to the Super Bowl, and the odds of Rojo being in the optimal lineup relative to Brady, that's even worse odds than Andrews relative to Lamar if Baltimore's in.
Because you're not only do you need the Bucs to go to the Super Bowl, but you need them to be in positive game scripts every step of the way, and that just seems unrealistic.
And Rojo's, then he's got to outscore Evans, then he's got to outscore Godwin, then he's got to outscore Antonio Brown, then he's got to outscore Gronk at the tight end position. It's not a good.
It's more of a lose in the NFC Championship kind of play, right, Rojo?
Yeah, I think best case scenario for Rojo's is two games.
Do you think they're going to make it through their passing game? I mean, Brady's dust.
All right, I know Brady sucks, and we've been over this, but my God, how many times do I have to point out to you the dude was freaking second in passing touchdowns and third in passing yards?
I just wanted to alley-oop you for a nice little dunk on how good Brady was.
I do think there's very good reasons, though, to play a Washington wins the first game and free roll that, though, because I think Brady's super matchup dependent at this point. His skill players are good. They're pass happy. So he crushes Atlanta twice at the end of the season. He crushed Detroit. He crushed Minnesota.
Yeah, isn't he David Montgomery?
Yeah,
but at quarterback, it's a similar dynamic.
I do. I think Montgomery's stuff was a little flukier. I don't think he's as matchup dependent, but that's a separate thing. Even though he crushed in good matchups, but Brady on the road in the cold in Washington against a really good defense, that could go bad from the get-go. And then you play Logan Thomas and you get the tight end edge with playing one tight end lineup with Logan Thomas. Free roll Logan Thomas. Let's go.
Let's boost Logan Thomas's ownership by 4 percentage points tonight, fellas.
Yeah, I actually had boosted him before the show, and I'm going to boost him after. Sorry.
Who are people playing on Washington? Or is it just a straight out fade?
It's mostly a fade. I have them
mostly Logan Thomas for a fade.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Chicago, Washington is good free rolls. Who become the good fade teams? I think the Colts become a good one because Taylor's going to be very highly owned. But then who's the other one? A Cleveland fade, maybe a Pittsburgh fade, whoever you think loses that game.
On that point, Pat, who do you have projected for more ownership, Chubb or Akers?
I have them very close. Let me pull it up.
I'll say teams that aren't good fades, even if you're projecting them to lose. We talked about Tennessee a little bit. They're going to play fast. They're going to score points. And I'm really on Pat's take about the Seattle Rams game where people are going to fade that too much. So when you consider ownership, you should probably play both sides of that game. I don't think those are two good fades at all. I think the other team.
You don't necessarily have to play both sides of it in your lineup. Like I don't necessarily play that game as a shootout, but in your portfolio of teams, I would try not to be like, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to do with it is play scenarios where I'm betting on one of them to make a run. So I'm trying to get some Russ in there. I'm trying to do Akers with a pivot off of Devontae Adams to Aaron Jones because I don't care as much if the Rams beat the Packers then.
If you do get a scenario, though, where the game shoots out, if you play both sides of it, you're guaranteed, a winner that's under owned.
Right.
Like
that's a good point.
Dink, do you have a preference if you play a Rams wide receiver? Do you like Woods or Kupp?
I prefer Woods. I mean, I think there's a little bit of variance in terms of like how COVID has impacted people just generally. So you don't really know what that situation is with Kupp. And so I'd go Woods. You also get a little bit of rushing equity. They use him a little bit more around the goal line than they do Kupp. They don't use Kupp on any of these jet sweep type stuff. So
yeah,
I'd lean Woods. But I mean, it's, really like small differences in terms of leans there. I can't imagine either guy is going to be owned at all, right?
No.
So weird too. I don't know if Gretch, doing the stealing signals each week, if you've got a take on this, but 2 years in a row, we've seen Kupp out of the gate crush the first half of the season. And then Woods has a huge target share the second half. And if you look at this season, it's like a tale of two halves. And it's like consistent too. It's not like up and down. Like Kupp pretty consistently was more targeted the first half. And then Woods has pretty consistently been more targeted the second half. I don't know if you have a take on like if that's just noise or likely to continue.
I don't at all and had not considered it until right at this very moment, but that's exactly what's happened both years. You're right. Yeah. I mean, people were completely done with Woods last year until he started being amazing the whole second half of the year. I hadn't even noticed that trend. That's a great point.
Last year was a little different because they started doing that like 2 tight end, 2 wide receiver stuff where I think they had Cook still and they didn't play
right. Kupp snap share went down to 29% in a healthy game, one game. Yeah, there was some weird stuff there last year.
Boswell's healthy, Spence and Chap. Boswell's kicking. I think Goskowski's kicking too, right?
Yeah.
Kicker chasing. That's important.
Yeah.
Like a lot of volatility at the kicker position.
I have Akers at 39 and Chubb at 30, by the way. Going back to that.
One underdog we haven't talked about a lot is Cleveland, who I think we all think definitely has paths to winning this game. If we do project Cleveland upset, or even maybe projecting that as a shootout that we want to target, I mean, Landry obviously makes sense in a negative game script, even one and done situation. What thoughts do you guys have on potentially playing Cleveland skill position players?
Chubb's going to be way too high owned. That's the first thought.
Yeah, that Chubb ownership is like shocking to me, honestly.
What do you have it at, Pat?
30.
So we're talking that's like more than Kamara. That's like more than Aaron Jones. And like I get it because the team.
No, Kamara more than Michael Thomas. You mean? Yeah, sorry.
Oh, more than Michael Thomas. Okay. Yeah. So like I get it because of the teammate stuff, but I also like Chubb's only path to being in the winning lineup is them winning multiple games, right?
No,
probably. You got Baker the Faker Chubb only in the chat here, so I do think people are going to jam in Chubb a little.
Because
you're playing them to win, right? Like that's the only way you play Chubb.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say he has like one really big game and it's a win, and then the second game is meh and they lose and they're out. I guess that's the path. But like at that ownership, that seems steep.
Yeah, I think he's way over owned, but just with the rule changes, I mean, we have 6 teams that are one and done to start, and you have to play a guy on 12 or 14. Yeah. So like there's routes where he just scores 18 points and he's in the optimal lineup.
Yeah.
Like but I think he's a fade, like or an underweight quite a bit. I like Landry a lot in that game. And Dink, we talked about on our show this morning, Chubb's just so difficult because it's like sometimes they grind. He goes 24 carries for 150 and 2, and it's like, oh, this is Derrick Henry. And then last week he has 14 carries and 1 target, and like you can go bust with that so easily. So it's just really hard to know what to do with him.
Yeah, I mean, I like him in DFS this week because I think he's going to be a little bit under owned to where he should be, not like a ton, but the ownership that Pat just suggested in this contest. That seems way too high to me.
I think
You just take
the guy that I was just thinking about in terms of like Chubb that like seems very similar to me to Chubb is Dobbins. Is Dobbins not going to be owned at all in this thing?
That's Pete's boy.
I have him at 21%.
Okay, that's a decent bit.
I know.
Not as much as more than I thought. I thought I was going to get a sub 15.
I thought I was being sneaky too. I thought we were going to get him like 10%, but it seems like if that's the case, Marquise Brown is probably the Ravens Galaxy brain play.
Mm-hmm. Your boy. It's time to get even.
And he's probably
listen,
like
brother, we can win this. We can win this thing, and we're not getting even on Marquise Brown. So, I have to do like acid out in the mountains with Levitan because of Marquise Brown. So there's a lot of negative.
Wait,
life
is that part
here.
of your bet? Did I miss
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Part?
That is the bet.
That is
Oh,
a bet.
I knew there was money on the line. I didn't know we were dropping a bean.
No, there's actually no money on the line, and I actually like never actually had something that I was actually able to win in this bet because
Levitan was never worried. He was just like, "Don't even come up with it."
Yeah, Levitan was like, "Don't even come up with it." He's like, "I'll run your dating profile apps," and I was like, "I don't think that's a good idea." And then like we just like kind of moved on into the season, and then it was very clear by like week 4 that I had no equity in this win.
Well, now I want to picture Levitan explaining to the ladies of Manhattan what skin to fur means. Yeah, I mean, Eric, like, yeah, I like Dobbins a lot, but again, if you want Dobbins, you want the Ravens rolling, and if the Ravens are rolling,
I think Dobbins is the same exact play as Chubb. Like you can see the Ravens win 1 week with Dobbins leading the way against a Tennessee defense that's very soft against the run, and then you can see them get bounced and like. That's your guy. Like he puts up 20. Yeah. Like it's Dobbins, I think it's the same play as Chubb. It's just Dobbins more leverage on his teammates.
Dobbins is a lower projection than Chubb, a lower ceiling than Chubb, and more team opportunity cost than Chubb.
Is Dobbins going to catch passes?
Is Chubb?
Like maybe 2. No,
I think they profile similarly, and that you're looking for like a highly efficient game.
Here's my question: the team opportunity cost, like I totally understand, but if a team wins a game and gets bounced in the second round, what are we talking about in terms of opportunity cost? Like isn't it is Dobbins more likely to outscore Marquise Brown in that 2-game sample? Like because Lamar's probably not worthwhile in 2 games, right?
It's Mark Andrews. It could be Austin Hooper, I guess, but the way that this sets up this playoffs, tight end is so important, and Dobbins does get hurt by Mark Andrews a lot when you run those scenarios.
Well, I wonder if I have Mark Andrews too low because I have him at 40%, and I do think people could just get. I mean, he's the highest projected Raven outside of Lamar, and if you're not playing Kelsey, you need the tight end. I have Logan Thomas is bumped up to like 13, 14%, but I wonder if Andrews comes in more.
So how many teams are playing 2 tight end lineups is kind of the big question. Because earlier Pat had showed me like, I think 125% tight end ownership. And I was like, I think that's the peak. And now I think Pat is right. And I'm wrong that is not the peak. That's more like the absolute floor.
Yeah, I have it 150 now.
Yeah, I think 150 is probably about right. I don't think I would get higher than that, but I think that's correct.
And last year it was a 1 tight end lineup that won, and it wasn't even the highest scoring tight end.
So, but like Kittle and Kelsey made the Super Bowl, and neither were in the lineup.
Right?
That is so insane.
Yeah,
so wild.
I think there is a lot of equity, and the other thing that we're talking a lot about with Pat's ownership is that the Boomers are going to play a lot of running backs. There's so many flexes. They can jam so many. I think there's a lot of equity in just building your lineup positionally using the flexes on receivers. I mean, yeah, I'm a 0 RB guy, but like not playing too many tight ends, not playing too many running backs. I'm going to be flexing some running backs when I play, these lineups, but I think playing more receivers in those flexes is going to wind up being way underplayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's easier for wide receivers to hit ceiling outcomes separate from game script, where you really have to nail the game script for guys like Nick Chubb and potentially even your boy Jonathan Taylor, to hit their ceiling outcomes, where it's just, I don't know, it's so much easier for these guys to get there at wide receiver. Should we build a lineup, really put this bickering to the test?
Let's do it.
Sure.
All right. Let me pull up my screen here. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh my God, is Xander Schauffele doing well?
Is there still golf going on right now, Mike?
It's 11 o'clock at night. What are you talking about?
Did you get a Xander Schauffele reference?
Someone just, I got TweetDeck open. Someone just said, have yourself a weekend, Xander. I thought, I know some friends that have kind of a anti-Xander position this week, and I feel bad for them at this point in time.
They throw the floodlights on.
I'm getting another beer.
course. There we go.
Does Dink have the anti-Xander position?
No, it's not Dink.
Oh. You got a well-timed beer that I thought it might have been him.
That's a good point. All right, Gretch, why don't you screw this lineup right off the bat?
Oh, what?
Hey, let's relax. Let's let Dink come back. This is going to be all right. He's back.
Listen, guys. I'm old. I'm not old enough that I'm sitting here betting golf props. I'm old enough not to own crypto.
Oh God, Dink, why'd you?
I'm old enough to.
That's not.
I'd hate to pull up the price of Bitcoin right now.
Oh my God.
I'm actually going to see how rich I am.
Dink's going to need to drop that acid here sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
This beer.
All right.
Good.
So got a Craig Purple go boomer. It's Pete's money. Well,
Molinari, go back to the
Molinari was the right one.
Yeah. Francesco. Oh, I gotta be quiet. All right.
Yeah. Let's talk about the round 2 showdown PGA slate, guys. Okay.
Round 3.
Guys, I just asked one thing. I asked that this lineup tells a goddamn beautiful story.
Can I go first here, Pete?
What did you say, Pat?
Can I go first here?
I think no. I think we need a randomizer.
You want the randomizer wheel?
Pat is the storyteller, though. Pete, you asked me earlier who's grinding it harder. We have Leone over here running optos, deep in the projection game, and we have Pat hand building these great story lineups. It is a classic battle between Leone and Pat right now.
It's not a battle. We're united.
Yeah,
he's doing the ownerships.
One's telling a story, one is a computer.
Pat, are you willing to cede to the wheel your first pick?
I am. Good.
Okay.
You can put Pat in twice.
Yeah, I like that. We'll put Pat in twice. We'll double his odds.
I want to tell a story.
People have accused me of doing this during the randomizers shows, and yes, I have weighted my prompts sometimes. Deal with it. How else do you think I end up doing a pick blindfolded? I was trying to click the StreamYard screen and not the other browser if you want to know where I'm at in the evening.
What was the other browser? I missed this one.
Oh,
no.
God.
Spin it again.
Woo! Ben Gretch! All right, Ben.
I'm starting this whole thing. We didn't even do a around the horn Galbrain takes. I mean, I don't have a lot of great Galbrain takes that just ruin a lineup.
God.
All I know is I see Antonio Williams on the screen, and boy.
All right, I'm not going to ruin it. I'm going to take one. He's the best player in the entire career.
Is Antonio Williams really averaging 21.3 points a game? Is that real?
God, I was going to take Allen.
I was going to take Allen Leone before you didn't let me take the first pick. I was going to say, look, we've given Leone a lot of shit tonight. Allen's a great play.
You were going to take
it all week.
Let's
have him Allen.
And then people wanted by taking the best play in the whole tournament.
What is going on right now? I miss it. What do we do?
I took Diggs. They both apparently wanted Allen on this lineup.
I was going to gift Leone Allen. Then he suggested we spin the wheel, and it goes to Gretch, and he takes Diggs. So Leone.
I went with a non-argumentative pick.
You went with the chalkiest.
Guys.
In my defense,
we have Diggs. Now we stack him with Allen, right?
Oh, what a GPP, bro.
your flashlight storytelling, I thought, you threw me off. Okay, you red herringed me.
That was just joking around. When it came to building the lineup, I was going to put an Allen for you.
I can't believe I screwed it up, and in turn allowed Gretch to screw it up.
I mean, I tried not to, just so that you wouldn't be so upset, Leone. I feel like I make you upset a lot.
I think you make everyone upset a lot.
What a terrible thing to say.
Wow. Now I'm just figuring out how can I maximize making everyone else upset equity. That's what I.
Oh, now, I know how to piss you guys off. Oh.
Well, the thing was, Pat, what was the first pick that Blair and Hassan did on Wednesday where we were just like, oh my, we had a Juju followed by.
What was it?
CEH.
It was Juju followed by CEH.
Oh,
CEH is not in play. He is not a smart play. I'm sorry.
Tyreek
is hardly in play because Mahomes and Kelsey are so likely to be the top QB or tight end. Okay. Tyreek is a good leverage play, but CEH, just play Tyreek. He's like 10% owned. Don't play CEH.
I want to make other people have really tough decision points. So I'm going to play Michael Thomas.
I like it.
That's what I was
on the CEH thing. I think at some point you're better off just saying, all right, let me just play Kansas City to lose. Like, than you are playing like the.
At which point you play Tyreek
player, or I mean Harrison Butker. I think Harrison Butker is a better play than CEH.
Yeah, I actually agree with that.
I agree with that.
Poor Pat, even with the juiced wheel, he can't come up. Please, I'm rooting for Dink or Leone at this point.
This is the establish the wheel.
Yeah! God damn it.
Okay, so the one side of my brain says to pick Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh God!
But I'm not going to. I'm going to pick Patrick Mahomes.
That's a good pick.
Nice.
Hey, Leone, good job, buddy.
Thanks, man. I watched Ted Lasso, and I'm trying to be more like him.
I have never wanted Dinkmeyer to come up. So bad.
Man, it's a 1 in 3 shot. We're down to it. Oh, stop! No, go back.
Oh yeah, Kareem.
No, it's
directly opposite.
All right, I'll take it. It's the same. Oh man. All right.
Ted Lasso was a great show.
I will take DK Metcalf.
That's a good pick too.
I know who I want to pick next. I know who it is.
I know who I want to pick too. It's better than your pick.
Let's go. Who's it gonna be? Drew Dinkmeyer, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm gonna piss you guys off so hard.
Oh, no. Here comes J.K. Dobbins.
Naheem Hines. It's gonna be Naheem Hines.
Rob Gronkowski.
Look at Pete's reaction. His face got all big and he just went in, man.
Leone, say something. I'm tilting.
I like it.
You guys
No,
told
you
me,
don't,
you guys told me Mahomes Andrews stacks are the worst way to go.
Right? I just wish you had picked Logan Thomas, Drew.
I believe that.
You guys said those are the worst ways to go, right?
Right. I was looking to a non-Andrews tight end, so that's why I like this pick.
Yeah, I was hoping for a non-Andrews tight end. That's as much as I'll say.
Yeah.
I think you should have to take a shot for that pick, Drew.
Drew. I'll do one with you.
Can I?
Yes, I think we all need to do a shot.
Oh, all right.
All right.
I gotta go get one.
Me too. I'll be back.
I didn't realize we left everyone with nobody on screen.
So I won that pick. Let me explain why that pick was the perfect pick, right? So one, I have to fulfill the boomers, right? I have to represent the boomers in the most boomer way possible, while also playing like mildly optimal. And two, I have to tilt Corain because he had his chance. He had his fucking chance at taking Ronald Jones, and he did not take Ronald Jones.
Wow. So for the good of the stream, I chose someone I thought you guys would be happier with, and you said, "Now I'm gonna fuck this guy over."
Some people just like to watch the world burn. The funny thing is we're gonna do the shot, and then we're gonna actually have to think through some tough scenarios to figure out how this lineup makes sense. Doobie, I was planning to dupe you guys until the Gronk pick.
See, and I'm out here helping us not get duped.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm doing the Lord's work, honestly.
Do you think what if Leone doesn't come back and he's just headed straight to divorce court? Here he is.
I don't think I have.
He's got his headphones on the whole time.
I heard every last word.
Nice Bluetooth range on those, Mike.
I know. I went all the way down to the basement, and I'm in the upstairs.
What do you got down there? Your mezcal collection?
Just some Crown. I used the Bill shot glass. This is actually an infamous shot glass. I accidentally did double shots with someone on a stream using this shot glass.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, let me.
I literally don't have shot glasses anymore. I have a 9 and 5-year-old daughter.
Yeah, I don't have shot glasses.
All right, well,
I couldn't find them after the move, so
let's get a cheers up here. Cheers. Had to get the screenshot for that one. Little redux of 2 hats, 1 mic there. Ooh, Michael.
Ooh. Will Rachel be calling me later tonight?
Oh boy. The finish is pretty nice.
Take your do not disturb off, Dink.
So, as I was saying, when just Dink and I were here, we're going to rip a shot, and now we actually need to back ourselves out of this corner in a logical, coherent manner. So what is the story? We are back around to who had the first pick?
I think we're on Washington winning.
Oh, yeah. Antonio Gibson time, baby.
Oh, we're on Antonio Gibson. I'm taking Antonio Gibson in this lineup. That's my pick. I have first pick. I'm taking Antonio Gibson.
Hey, Leone, how many optimals did this show up in?
Not one.
I ran 7 million, and there's not one.
I kind of don't mind it. I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think you gotta go. You like the Gibson. You guys are better than me. Dink and Leone, both of you are, in my opinion, some of the best at understanding correlation and all those things.
You say these nice things about me, but I know you don't believe it.
Dink, I always liked you more. Don't worry.
I know you believe them about me, Gretch.
Yeah, I did. It's always been true. Do you guys think Gibson is the smart way to play Gronk? Probably, right?
I think it's either Gibson or a complete fade.
I feel like it's an oxymoron to have the word smart play and Gronk in the same.
I agree.
I think you guys.
Pat, what is Gronk's projected ownership?
I believe 8%, 7 or 8%.
I think you guys overly think that
8%.
Washington had to win.
Is that what you? Okay, that's what I'm asking. Can Gronk be their guy in 2 games?
Well, yeah, because tight end sucks.
Tight end sucks.
Yeah.
So wait, I'm not sold on Gibson yet, Pete. Let's take that off. I want to consult.
No, I think you can go full fade here. You can still go full fade at Washington.
Or like Washington D's not bad either. But
so we need Gronk to score 2 touchdowns across 2 games, and he's probably the best tight end at that point. That's actually not a bad call.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't have to.
You know what? Their skill positions are so spread out. That's why we like Brady. Like, there's no obvious other player if they play 2 games.
So
Gronk is really fine.
So here's my thought process.
Yeah, God, man, now I'm on Gronk. Should we
being very serious about this?
Please.
If people are going to play Tom Brady and people are playing Tampa to get to the Super Bowl, people are playing Brady and Rojo. This is a lineup that is playing Tampa to not get to the Super Bowl. This is a lineup that's playing Tampa to get bounced relatively early, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lineup that once we took Mahomes, you don't want to pair with Mahomes with Andrews. That was one of the first things you guys said. That's a poor pairing on the whole. So this is a lineup that is creating leverage on Tampa Bay going far and on Mahomes Andrews stacks, which is something that is going to be highly owned. So I don't think you need to play it for Washington winning. I just think you need to play with the belief that Tampa loses in round 1 or 2.
Fuck, it might have been the shot, but
Dude,
I think we need to up the Gronk exposure.
Dink, you're making so much fucking sense, dude.
So much goddamn sense.
You just went on that soliloquy, and Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Chris Godwin no longer even exist in my mind.
All right, Gretch, what are you gonna do?
How do I follow that?
So, I mean, we're probably playing.
Shit, that's a good play.
I don't think we have to play Baltimore to lose, but you're not playing Baltimore to go to the AFC Championship game. I guess is, and then the NFC is still pretty wide open, right? Like you're not.
So we don't have Baltimore.
You're not on the Rams, but
I
probably. Well, you could do a pass catcher.
You're obviously playing Adams or Aaron Jones, and it's fine to play either with this kind of construction because we're clearly unique.
This is actually. I'm not going to do it, but you could play Akers here, and you're hoping Metcalf has a kind of a ceiling game, but the Rams win.
Honestly, this is kind of a zero RB run.
But Akers is
dope.
I'm not going to. I said
Akers is going to be owned a lot, though. I don't.
What teams am I looking at though? Like I'm looking at Baltimore, and Tennessee.
There's literally like 9 teams that you can pick from.
Leone, there's like 9 beers empty on my desk over here.
That mathematically checks out.
Tell me what those 9 are.
Baltimore, Tennessee, Green Bay. Like if you don't know who to pick, just pick Devontae Adams.
Green Bay hasn't been picked yet. See,
never has it been more a disastrous spin of the wheel than Gretch getting the first pick.
Look, guys, I think things through. Like did you guys not know that I'm overly analytical? Sorry.
Well, let me think the exact game script and play calling that needs to happen for this guy to be in the lineup.
Now we got Leone doing impressions. We need to do more stuff.
Best burn yet. Like that. You know what? That's fair. Leone, that's where I like playing
Gretch,
with you.
I can tell right now that you're worried about upsetting the masses. I mean, Drew picked Gronk and we're still alive. Just make a pick.
No, I mean, really, I'm just trying to milk the clock.
Don't say anything other than a football
me right now. So I'm gonna take
Peter. Can you put a timer up? And
I'm gonna take Devontae Adams. I'm just gonna take Diggs and Adams.
All that to take the 2 chalkiest players.
Probably the highest guy.
I didn't want to do that again.
Congrats.
Whose turn is it? Is it me or is it you, Leone?
I think it's you, Peter, because you took Thomas second. It's you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see here. All right. Let's do it. Chase Claypool.
See, that's a good pick. I didn't even think. No one told me Pittsburgh was still on the board.
Sorry, Leone. He's our generation's Juju Smith-Schuster.
No, that's a good pick. I'm cool.
That would have been my pick if I knew Pittsburgh was available. Jeez.
I actually think I have notes on like a KC New Orleans.
Can you add the PSM to your sim, Leone?
I actually have like kind of this build somewhere. So I think
we got to hammer this Baltimore Tennessee game at some point.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to take Justin Tucker.
What the?
Nice.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. We all know what that means.
Yeah, like
we all know what that means.
Derrick Henry into the lineup.
Yeah.
Well, we're probably like fading Andrews, right?
Look at Leone making fun of me taking non-controversial picks. Then he takes 2 picks. He forces someone else to pick someone by his. Instead of just taking Henry, he takes Tucker. So someone else has to take Henry.
Someone could still take AJ Brown if they wanted to.
No one likes AJ Brown here.
I feel pretty boxed in. There's really only one pick here. And
you could just
David fucking Montgomery.
Oh my God, that was a Ronald Jones spite pick.
Yeah, it was, Drew. Yeah, it was.
Oh,
You enjoy Rob Gronkowski, Drew.
oh.
This entire exercise was a Russian roulette of who was going to take the first running back, and boy, did Pat fall on that grenade.
Plug him in, Derrick Henry.
All right, now the testosterone's kicking in.
There we go.
What a rush.
Oh God, we're back to Gretch. Jesus Christ.
Oh, good.
We're back to me.
I would like everybody to know I only had 2 picks in this thing, but I represented Evan Silver as well as I could because you guys like touchdowns, right? You guys like touchdowns? Rob Gronkowski and Derrick Henry scored touchdowns.
Dink's cadence there was like he was doing a stand-up set. How's everyone doing tonight? You guys like touchdowns? Yeah, you guys like touchdowns, right? You don't get touchdowns? David fucking Montgomery. Crowd goes wild.
So we have Cleveland. We have Washington. I legitimately don't know at this point. Cleveland, Washington,
Rams.
Rams. Oh,
Cleveland, Washington, Rams, Colts.
Right.
We're at the point of the show where we're just listing teams.
Cleveland, Washington, Rams, Colts. All right, Cam Akers. Done. Lock it in.
We're flat. We went from 0 RB to 3 RB.
Jesus. Like, why would you play in a game where why would you play Akers
Leone,
over
because
Woods?
you can suck it.
I actually thought you were going to say something there, man.
Say something really logical.
You know how like some teams like their running plays and their passing plays look exactly the same?
Peter, it's to you.
Holy shit.
It's back to me. What teams are available?
Holy
Colts. So do you want Colts defense, Cleveland defense, or Washington football team defense?
I feel like Washington football team defense makes sense if we're playing fucking Gronk.
Yeah, it's actually a great point.
Yeah. Washington football defense makes sense. All right.
What a team. What a
That's
team.
a fucking great
This
lineup.
team-
What a team.
Hang on.
Like, even though we have this public, I don't think anyone's going to dupe it.
No one's going to do it.
No, they're going to dupe it. We need to beg them. Guys, I'm begging you. Don't dupe us. Please don't dupe us. Even though I'm not actually submitting this lineup.
Okay, guys, we need to.
No, you said you would. We need to submit
You
it.
would. You need to submit it.
All right, so
Oh, yeah.
I look forward to this lineup being the winning lineup if
Guys.
us having not submitted it because the
I don't-
content would be so good.
I don't
Yeah,
want
you have to put this
be
in.
the bearer of bad news, the grumpy grizzle, the negative Nancy.
Is this about
But- No, this is about the fact that we have a lot of lineups to actually make, and
And we just took
after the show ends. So just throwing that out there. I'm past my bedtime.
God, you are such a grumpy grizzle. I cannot get over it.
I've always said that.
Let's do one more on the stream, I think.
Holy
All
shit.
right, yeah, it sounds like a blast. And I'm not being sarcastic. That was great.
No, we're not.
Come on, Leone.
No.
Here we go.
Come
Back
on,
to
play like
you,
Gronk.
baby.
Wait, so you didn't submit it. You just X'd that all out.
I remember.
What is
Steel trap.
submitting it?
Steel trap.
The chat remembers.
Somebody play that lineup, please. Dupe us. Dupe us.
I'm going to play it if Pete doesn't submit it. I'm going to play it
Yeah.
on my own.
Dink.
Oh, Kareem!
You did it. Who's the first pick? Is it quarterback number 17 in the greater upstate New York area?
When I first wanted to have the first pick, I wanted to be magnanimous and give it to Leone and take Josh Allen. But now I'm pissed off at Dink, so I'm taking Jonathan Taylor.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh,
No
shit.
way. right. That's what we call regression.
Nick Chubb.
No, take Rojo.
No.
Wow. Pat gets back-to-back picks and takes 2 non-Rojo running backs.
Oh.
I see a lot of Dink picks in our future. So bad. Gretch. Leone is so over this.
I'm trying to remember our last team because I'm fucking playing that team.
I'm going to play it too, buddy.
And yet you're going to swap out Juju for Claypool. I know you.
That's one way to make sure we're not duped. I'm doing it for us.
I'm taking a Russ play here.
Okay.
We went Akers. We went Rams win last time. We're going Seattle makes them run this time.
I love it. Now to me or Leone.
One time. Oh. Yes. Here we go.
He has 6 in there, and he just took himself 4 spins to get a pick.
Here we go. All right, what do we got? We got okay.
I see what I want to do here.
Oh, Tyler Bass, baby. Tyler Bass. Let's go.
That actually makes coherent sense.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yes. This has been a great run out for Dink having. Oh man. Let's see what do I want to do.
How dare you erase Tyler Bass?
Oh, my bad. My
Put
bad.
him back in.
My bad. That was a misclick. What do I want to do here? We already have so many running backs. If we're playing Nick Chubb, someone's got to eat some fucking chalk in this lineup, right?
Yeah. We need Kelsey or Andrews.
Yeah, I just did Kelsey.
Okay.
All right. I'm sure we're down to 5 Dinks and 1 Leone.
Oh, okay. Leone,
We're gonna get Leone. Oh, no.
All right.
5 dudes and 1 Leone.
All right. What do we got? Okay.
I'm not particularly happy right now.
Okay. More chalk. More chalk. Devontae Adams.
So Leone's put in like 20 hours of work on this week, and we're just giving Dink all the picks.
This is like very, very symbolic of our relationship in general. like Leone does all the work, and then I get to have all the fun.
It's Dink again.
Dink, I can't believe it. It's you.
Oh, this is amazing.
The chat wants Gronk.
All right.
Don't you dare.
Antonio Brown.
What the?
What do you think is good on the Bucs?
Leone, just trust the wheel, buddy.
I'm trying to, but it's testing me.
It's going to continue to test you. All right, Dink, can't believe it, but you have another pick here.
Okay. Okay. We've got.
I'm literally looking at all my work and like the scenarios that fit, and the Dink. Antonio Brown.
Mike, what teams do I have left?
Pittsburgh, specifically, their defense is still left.
Okay,
Objection, Your Honor. Leading the
Pittsburgh's
witness.
defense against Nick Chubb? How dare you? Okay, we're fading Pittsburgh. Go on.
Washington.
Terry McLaurin.
The Rams you have left.
Oh, Robert Woods.
Sir Bobby Trees.
Robert Woods.
All right, let's see who's going to get one of these.
Oh, God, dude. It's not Leone. It's not Leone.
Who would have thought?
All right, one more time. Wheels hot. All right, who do we have?
Is it real hot? I
Who do
mean,
we have left, Mike? The wheel is hot. It might be stacked, but it's hot.
Big
Washington,
Big money.
Pittsburgh, New Orleans.
Oh, you know who we got?
No.
Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson.
Okay, yeah, that's a good.
Okay, that's a good pick.
This is like if two people went on Price is Right and like one has been studying like Price is Right game theory for their entire life, and then their spouse gets on and they're like having to shout from the audience what place to make. Please be Dink. I will take another shot if this is Dink.
Oh no! No!
All right, Leone, I guess you get a pick.
Marquise Brown.
Oh.
He's been saving that one.
All right, let's see what happens.
Oh, come on, big money, big money, big money, big money. Oh, no
Drew
whammies.
Dinkmeyer.
No whammies. All right. I don't think we have a Saints player, right?
We do
Correct.
not.
We also
Robert-
don't have a Titans player. This is a bad lineup.
Yeah, very bad.
Oh, we're screwed.
But I'm not the
I
one who
mean-
took Robert Woods.
Someone out there took Marquise Brown.
Burmar's a big fan of this lineup. Interesting.
This lineup, the first lineup, I actually think was good. This lineup's fucking trash.
This lineup is
I mean, I did sabotage this lineup with the first two picks, so
this lineup is bad. This
Really,
lineup
it wasn't Dink with six
No, if-
picks in a row.
Can you trade out Robert Woods for a Tennessee player and we could salvage this thing?
Yeah, let's trade out Robert Woods.
Well,
Let's
we
trade out
want to play a rush shootout.
Robert Woods
I
for
like Robert Woods there.
for Derrick Henry. That makes sense. That all makes sense.
Yeah, or AJ Brown.
And-
Just one of
And
them.
then we'll go Michael Thomas.
I will say a Russ 3-game optimal with Kelsey and tight end and Devontae Adams, potentially Kansas City, Green Bay makes sense, but you need Russ to score a lot of points in those 30 games. So I kind of liked that
What's
projecting the Seattle Rams game as a shootout a little bit.
what's nice though is you really like you just need Russ to go to the NFC
I
Championship.
kind of think Woods is better than Marquise Brown, honestly, in this lineup. Honestly.
I do too.
Well, why were you so quick to pull him out, Dink? You
Well,
came-
I was told I had to pull one of my guys out. Leone,
What about Allen
I gotta pull one of my guys out. You gotta pull one of your guys out.
You put in Woods, but this is like one of these instances where Gretch gets like way overly specific as to what needs to happen for Russell Wilson to get in the lineup.
Just because I told you that was a good burn earlier
Like-
doesn't mean you can use it again 10 minutes
Well,
later.
it's just you just teed it up for me. I mean, if Russ gets to the NFC Championship game, if it's a Chiefs Super Bowl and Russ in the NFC Championship game versus Green Bay or New Orleans, regardless of who wins, Russ has a really high chance of being in the lineup. I mean, so we've already picked Kelsey.
All right. Let's see who gets to pick our defense. All right, chat.
You should put Leone on like 1 of 50.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Redo. This doesn't count.
Redo.
This don't count.
Yeah.
This doesn't count. Ignore this.
I can't wait to pick the Steelers D. Okay, that's enough. Give me some. Okay, thank you.
We got a couple Leones.
Oh God, not even
who would have
drama.
picked?
Very
Yeah,
anticlimactic.
what defense are we playing?
Jacob
Fade-
says to fade
Okay.
defense.
All right. I'm with him.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
First person in the chat to put out a valid defense for this lineup wins. Come on, let's go. Come on.
Jesus,
Leone
you guys
wants
have
us to
been
go to
so
make fun.
talkative. They're trying to figure out the teams that are available like I was. They don't want me to make fun of.
Rams
what's happening.
defense, but Rams defense is off the board now. Baltimore Rams to
Don't
Washington.
tell them. Don't tip the scales.
It's probably
La, la,
Washington.
la, la.
I thought you said
Baltimore?
first one.
No, we already have Baltimore.
No, we don't because we got rid of Marquise.
Hold on.
All right,
That's
it's
a
Washington. Oh, okay. All right, Baltimore was the first one.
Good, ooh,
There you go.
Young is coming for Brady though.
No, you know who that you said like
No,
this
Washington
Robert Woods
needs to
versus
pick.
Marquise Brown thing. Like Antonio Brown is the bad pick here. Like
Yeah.
Antonio Brown, the bad pick.
So you know how
Antonio Brown versus Marquise.
don't have any Washington, dude. So what are we just not taking anyone from that game?
Well, Dink, I think part of the reason is no one's going to play Evans, and so it's kind of fun to.
No, Pat's
you,
Evans
Pat's
is
right.
is a good play.
Pat's right, though. We need Tampa Bay because we can't full fade the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why was Antonio Brown the bad?
I mean, you
right,
guys
you're right.
to Ronald Jones. I would be cool with that.
No, it's like serial killers have their calling card, and Dink's calling card is putting a shitty Bucks player in our lineup.
Just sprinkle them in.
All right. We're going to end this because Leone wants us to build our lineups that we have hard-earned doll hairs on for this. But we appreciate you guys coming out tonight, spending your Friday night with us. Smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, follow ETR, subscribe to Stealing Signals. Ben Gretch puts out a newsletter every single day. It's absolutely incredible.
Stealing Signals is done for the year, guys.
It's
Unsubscribe. Subscribe
Ben,
right
don't
now.
try to get people to not subscribe to your newsletter.
I'm trying to
Subscribe
get
now.
them to unsubscribe. At this
Gretch
point.
is doing this whole series. It's 100 prospect profiles until draft day. It's a really ambitious goal, and I'm super excited to see how it plays out. Pat Craig, you have been the man. Go ahead. What do you?
I just want to thank Josh Kronz who
Oh
sent
yeah,
the shirt. This is like the best shirt that I own immediately. My favorite shirt.
That is so good.
How awesome is this? Thank you.
What
guys.
is it?
Shirt.
so good.
Amazing shirt.
That's what we are going to end on tonight. The LaVisca Chenault highlight reel. That's what we have to do. But again, thank you guys for coming out. For Ben Gretch, for Michael Leone, Patrick Carrain, Drew Dinkmeyer. We love you guys. We will see you next time.